Okay, so we're going to be looking at using InDesign to create interactivity and then exporting to a PDF. So this slide that I have here is a summary of what kinds of interactivity you can build into a PDF and get a good result, because not everything works in a PDF. So here you can see I'm comparing it to the Publish Online feature in InDesign, which I'll be covering in another video. But what are the interactive things we can do in InDesign? We can build in hyperlinks, bookmarks. We can create buttons, simple buttons that go from one place to another, or even more complex buttons that do more complex stuff like hide and show elements, things like that, even trigger animations, all of that sort of thing. Fillable form elements, animation with timing, video and audio, page transitions, and object states or slideshows, similar to slideshows. So what does PDF support? So the three things that you can use quite reliably in a PDF document is hyperlinks, which are links to other websites, other pages in the same document, or even other files, bookmarks, and fillable form elements. So those three things are pretty well supported. Buttons, yes, they are supported, but keep them simple. Don't create sophisticated buttons that trigger animations and stuff like that. They just won't work in a PDF. No animation. And video and audio is patchy, and I found that it works sometimes and not other times, depending on your device. So I would stay away from that. And then page transitions only work in full screen mode, which is no good for me as far as I'm concerned. I wouldn't bother unless I'm doing a presentation or something like that. And then object states or slideshows, no. Okay, so it's basically these four things: hyperlinks, bookmarks, fillable form elements, and then simple buttons. All right, so we're going to do that in this document called Interactive PDF Start. You can download the zip file and extract it and open up the InDesign file. So the first thing we're going to do is create our bookmarks, which is kind of standard in PDFs. In fact, some PDF readers create automatic bookmarks. We're going to actually hand make them here. So Window, Interactive Bookmarks. Whoops, missed that. Interactive Bookmarks. And the trick here is you must be on the page when you make the bookmark. Otherwise, you're going to have to delete and remake it. So I'm on the cover page. So I'm going to make a bookmark, and I'll just call it cover. I'm then going to go to page 2, and I don't need to make a bookmark to a photo on a page. I'm going to rather make a bookmark to the contents page. Okay, contents. Okay, then I'm going to go to the Durban Spice page, and I'll make a Durban Spice bookmark. I'm going to go to the Surf City page and make a Surf City bookmark. And then the back cover is really just a photo, but let's make a bookmark for the back cover. Okay, and let's rename this to front cover. Okay, so those bookmarks will now come through in the PDF and make an easy navigation system. But what we're also going to do is create buttons to be able to go to the next and previous page as well. So you'll see that here I've already created these little graphics. These are basically just, they look like buttons, but it's just a rectangle with a polygon in it, and they're set to a group. You'll see that in my layers, I've just created a layer at the top called Interactivity, and I'm putting all of that stuff in there. So this button is selected. I'm going to go Window, Interactive, and I'm going to actually use hyperlinks. So hyperlink, and I'm going to add a hyperlink, and I'm going to link to page, and this will be to page 2, and OK. Then I'm going to go to page 2, click on it, add a hyperlink, and this will be back to page 1. Okay, so I'm going to continue doing that for all of these, and I'll speed it up a little bit to save time. All right, so we've got our little hyperlink buttons. Let's go back to the contents page. There's a few more hyperlinks I want to add here. So you see I've got my little notes on the side here to remind me. So Durban Spice, this text, I'm going to unlock the text layer. It needs to link, hyperlink, to page 4. So Durban Spices, pages 4 and 5. Surf City needs to link to page 6. Okay, then down here we have some extra stuff. We've got an email address. I'm going to double click just to isolate that item, add a hyperlink, and I'll change it to email. I'll put in the address. Let's just say cindy@durban.co.za, and I'll say subject line inquiry from PDF brochure. Okay, you can see it puts a little envelope there to tell you it's an email address. And then finally this web address, I'll select it, add a link, and I'm going to say URL, and I'll say www.durban.co.za. Okay, and you can see that it goes green, which tells me that it's checked that this is a valid web address. If it wasn't, or if I typed the address incorrectly, it would be red. So just keep an eye out for that. All right, so those are all of my hyperlinks that I've done in the document. So we've got bookmarks, we've got hyperlinks. Now let's go, let me just check here. Hyperlinks, yep, I can delete that. And I can delete that, and here. Okay, and here we've got these form elements. So this is basically just straightforward InDesign stuff. It's text frames and just normal rectangles all put into what appears like a form, but we want to actually make it a functioning form. So I'm going to go to Window, Interactive, Buttons and Forms. I'm going to select the name box. It's just a normal rectangle at the moment, and I'm going to set the type to text field, and I'm going to give it the name of name, and I'm going to say it's required. I'm also going to just set a description here, your name. For email, select the box, it'll be the same text field, let's give it a name, email, and I'll say it's required. For the cell, same thing, text field, cell. I'm not going to say required, some people might not want to share their cell number. And then here we have method of receiving this weekly newsletter, email or WhatsApp. That's going to be radio buttons. So I'll select the email box and I'll say radio button, and I'll just say method and leave it on. And then for the WhatsApp box, I'm going to say radio button, and I'll give it the same name, method, so that they've got the same name, which means they'll be part of the same radio button group. And I'll set this one to off. All right, and then finally we need to send this form. So this is basically just a text frame with white background, rounded corners. So I'll select it and I'll go here and say button, and I'll just call it send, and I'll set the action to submit form. And I'm going to set the URL, where do I want this form to be submitted, to mail to, and then I'm just going to say cindy@durban.co.za. Okay, and for the appearance, I want, when I move my mouse over that button, for it to change opacity. So for the rollover effect, I'm going to set my opacity down to 70%. So it goes from that to that when I move my mouse over it. All right, so that's all the interactivity built into this document. So now we need to get this out into an interactive PDF. So we're going to go File, Export, and we're going to make sure that it's Adobe PDF Interactive. And I'm just going to call it Interactive PDF and then save. Over here, you need to say pages all and choose spreads so that your pages are in facing pages mode. And then compression, I normally set it to JPEG high quality with a resolution of 144. It depends, but this is a very visual document, lots of photos, so we want the quality to be good. So I'm going to say export, and it's just going to give me a CMYK blend space warning, just say OK. All right, so here's our document, and let's test the buttons first. So yes, that works. Okay, they all appear to work. Okay, this one isn't working for some reason. I'll have to go back and check that, but this is quite normal to have to go back and check your document. Okay, Okay, so let's have a look at the links on the contents page. So Durban Spice, yes, that one works. Surf City, yes, that one works. The email, yes, we've got an email going on there. Won't save it. And then the web address. Okay, yes, that is working. Let's just bring it down here. It took me to that web address. Okay, so everything seems to be working so far. Let's go down to the form and let's test that. So, okay, it's remembered my settings from when I was testing this. So I've got mic and then email and then a cell, and then I'm choosing WhatsApp, and then I'll say send. And it says use default email application, continue, and there we go. There's my PDF with my saved settings and the email address. All right, so quite a lot of interactivity that you can build into a PDF just to make it a more dynamic user experience.